is in Hasidic terms, definitely with Rabbi Nachman, there's terms of Hidbodedut. There's a term of what it means um, to go to be by yourself, and that is the most confusing term. Or is it to do with retreating from humanity, retreating from the habitual life, retreating into having space to shout my pains and to ask for help, going into nature. Uh, all these terms are basically very confusing. Isolation, truly, the the term, if you like, the term or the principle of it, that I try slowly to isolate all my wills and intention to the higher. Because I'm trying to sort them out, this is meant to isolate them, to separate them, to see what they are connected or being used for, and to separate it from it. So every time, every sense of that of Hidbodedut or separation, it has to, or differentiation. In terms of differentiating myself from that which is compelling me to a certain thought and feeling, and to allow it to be in a different with a different association, therefore to allow it to devote itself to something else. This is not through physical isolation from humanity or from the city, or I can be in nature and totally misread nature.
I don't know. It's very confusing to me because, like, it seems like a lot of spiritual people separate themselves,
A spiritual person, the
or
greatest
sages.
person, mm,
Sages. Go ahead.
truly sages they can go through a period of a sort of meditation or preparation, but usually, not usually, they become sage or prophets or actually useful or righteous people only when they serve community. So
When
you
they
can say that,
self-communicate, did
yeah,
you
their
say?
community, or
Okay. Oh,
when they serve
self-communicate.
humans, not when they serve themselves.
Right, right.
So isolation could be sometimes like impregnation. 40 days that Moses is going up the mountain. 40 days that is, 40 weeks, which is a natural impregnation. So impregnation is not really isolation. It's it's a pressure cooker. It's a very intense state that actually prepares us to be in service. It's not for itself. If I'm going into a retreat for myself, I can eat myself. I will
But
not.
isn't it,
There is no grace and there is no help from higher if I do it for myself.
but
Period.
like, even,
Definitely in our generation. So people can go into
yeah,
the, sorry,
it's
imaginary
okay.
us, into spirit, and think that it is spiritual. But they're
I
actually going
understand.
into, yeah, they're going into self-deluding self-image that they are holy, but there's nothing to do with spirituality,
Well, no,
true spirituality.
I'm talking more of like the dark night of the soul. I'm talking like you have isolation imposed upon you, and
But
you are
dark night,
at,
yeah, but dark night of the soul was not an intent isolation. It was a
right.
process happening, and it has to do with soul and not with spirit. And this is why it's called dark night of the soul. It has to do with the purification of a soul to a certain degree. It's Christian, of course. It's going to a certain degree of achieving clarity of importances. But it was within the process. So you can say that for soul purposes, not for spirit, for soul purposes, I'll explain why in a minute. Soul purposes, isolation can be very useful, not for spirit.
But
Spirit,
not self-imposed, but that's imposed
it's
upon
nothing to
you.
do with the spirit. It's good for
Right.
your own health,
Okay.
your own well-being, whatever you call it. Nothing to do
Mhm.
with spirituality, because spiritual, the very edict of spirit is to go down and mix with people. If she wants to go back, they're reminding her that her purpose is to go down and mingle with people. So it cannot be that she goes into isolation and it's actually fulfilling her purpose. This is why it's bullshit, speaking about spirituality, isolation as a
Mhm.
spiritual act. It's opposite.
But the isolation
It's
that's,
actually opposite. Isolation can give you a good cleaning. It can clean you from, but on a level of soul or corporality, it's nothing to do. It can give you a sense of expansion of the soul, meaning expansion of its clarity, but it does not touch spirit. It touch a very the sense of well-being and a sense of that this is a better, because it's not under the demand of the will to receive to oneself, it feels more clean, but it's not. It's taking, look, if you go to a monastery, truly, and you live there for a period of time, you see that all the problems of the world are actually within the monastery. Politics, sort of quarrels about food, about status, about who is more loved by the teacher. So it's just closer and smaller, but it's the same.
yeah. I was talking more about isolation imposed upon a person rather than a person seeking isolation.
Mm.
And this, and if that was part and parcel to the spirit and the soul doing the spirit journey that you just spoke about. That was
Yeah,
my,
so I would say that if it was imposed on a spirit, she would desperately look to go back into service.
thank you.